Okay, that PSA is over. Hands together in prayer. Feet close or together. They can be apart if you're pregnant. They can be apart if your thighs meet before your feet. They can be apart if it just is uncomfortable for your feet to touch. But if they're apart, they should be level. That is to say, you don't have one turned out, one turned in. And you do everything you can to spread the toes, because that moves the connective tissue all the way up through the legs and creates a sense of flow that we should feel not just in the body, but in the mind. And of course, in our lives, we get caught in stuff. It's like we're moving through a forest and our clothing gets snagged here and there, but we want to move through the forest smoothly. So we've got to release the snags, the places that we get caught up in, the things we get caught up in, ideas, opinions, memories, regrets, nostalgia, expectation. And one of the best ways to do that is to enter into this, tune out of that by tuning into this. But you just have to understand that in tuning into this, you are letting go of that, and to understand how beneficial and how wonderful that is, and how liberating and how much of a reset that is. So we tune into this by moving the feet, as I've mentioned already, to move the calf muscles, to move the shins, to move the thighs in a way that releases your breath, which is the indication that you're releasing whatever the mind has taken hold of. You're releasing whatever the mind has taken hold of. And we're gradually guiding a sense of presence, which comes along with a sense of spontaneous intelligence. We're guiding that sense of presence into the body. So you don't really need to think about it, but you definitely are feeling. And things like flow in the legs coming from the feet, flow in the breath's got to always be there. Depth from the back of the thighs towards the front of the thighs. Now, here we begin a series of subtle instructions. Depth from the back of the thighs, so they move in. And accompanying that is an inevitable, very soft rising of the front of the thighs. Everything's soft, everything's within the context of the breath. So depth from the back of the thighs, rising through the front of the thighs. And then the gluteal creases, which is where your bum and thigh meet. Here's your next challenge. We what's called cut in at the gluteal crease, or creases. That means that the crease is deepened without holding the breath. If the breath starts going shallow, you picked up the wrong tool. You'll never be able to do the task that way. So those gluteal creases go deeper. The breath is more natural. Each gluteal region begins to tone up individually, not squeezing towards each other, but toning up individually. And the front of the thighs rise up. That goes through to the tummy, which rises up. Collarbones are wide. Press your hands together. Bring the heel of the hand down to the xiphoid cartilage. That's the bottom of the breastbone. Make sure your head is upright and breath is flowing. Watch out for tensing the breath. Keep breathing freely and relaxing in ways that help you breathe freely. Keep it informal. And keep repeating the instructions, moving the feet to keep the flow, deepening from the back of the legs towards the front of the legs, rising up through the front of the legs. It's very subtle. It's like a sort of a current that's moving through, like a current that's moving through. Interlace your fingers, stretch your arms diagonally down. Raise the arms up. When you get about 3/4 of the way up, make sure your neck doesn't tighten up, so you can move your head in any way that works. But tightening up is indicated by the breath. That's the interesting thing, I think. So, if there's tightening in the neck, your breath will tighten. If there's no tightening in the neck, the breath will be free. And that's all there is to it. It's really, really nice and simple. The tummy draws in to find buoyancy at the pelvic floor, buoyancy. A sort of inevitable upwards movement that's natural, buoyancy. Take a big wide circle. Hands are going to return to the heart. Take a deep breath in and out. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Relax your toes. Breathe through your nose. So we know relaxation is quarter of the whole of the instructions that Patanjali gives to yoga postures, relaxation. So that's very important. And if you add the fact that another quarter is happiness, we should be relaxed and happy. The Yoga Sutra tells us when we're practicing poses, that's half of what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah? The other two halves are we should be steady in that happiness and relaxation. Steady, so established, we could say established. So we have this Sanskrit root star, S-T-H-A, star, which means stable, steady. And so we're 3/4 of the way there. And the last thing Patanjali says is you should focus on that which has no end, ananta. So the deepening of the gluteal creases, the constant attention to fluidity, the depth of the back of the legs, the rising up, we could say infinite amount of instructions, rising up of the shins, the deepening of the outer legs, the lifting up to the inner groins. We're going to raise the arms up. This is Urdhva Hasta Tadasana, which just means hands up Tadasana, breathing through your nose and bending down for Utkatasana. And that was 4 people's ankles all click simultaneously. It was marvelous. Percussive effect. We're going to move up and down and breathe into it and play with it. And we're, very much inviting intuition, very much inviting to soften those borderlines. After all, yoga is absolutely clearly pointing in many traditions, at least to Advaita and non-dualism, non-division. Even in Patanjali, is pointing to non-division on the level of interdependence, prakriti. We're going to reach down for the floor and breathe through the nose. For most people, that gives the back a pretty good stretch. All those muscles stretching over the bony structures of the ribs and the spine. And you can feel the posterior intercostals. You can feel the latissimus dorsi. You can feel the quadratus lumborum, all these different back muscles. Feeling them is half of the journey. We think of the journey as 2 stepping stones over a river. Having a rich experience is half. The other half is giving to it. So let's breathe deep. Some people might feel like they want to experiment with straightening legs up. You can if you want, but it's often not comfortable in their back to do that. Even for someone with good range of flexibility, straightening the legs still might take quite a lot of back and forth, raising a heel, dropping a heel, moving the legs. So we're not having to do that. We can keep them bent. But if we are straightening the leg because it's intuitive, then we should do it gradually and holistically. One way or the other, we're going to bend the legs again or keep them bent if they stay bent. Bring the left hand in the center line of the 2 feet, push into the fingers and turn and breathe. So this is like a Parivrita Utkatasana. What matters is the breath. What matters is the breath in terms of yoga's goals. So in terms of yoga's goal is the reintegration of what seemed to be separate, like a separate me and then everything else, the reintegration of me into its true field, interdependence. So, it stops everything being personal. Let's swap to the other side when we're ready. Fingers on the floor, hand on the sacrum, breathing through the nose. Take deeper, more natural, more expressive breaths. And again, this reintegration. The movement is not dissimilar to the movement you might use on a microfiber cloth if you're wiping up water from perhaps a kitchen surface at home. You move that microfiber cloth back and forth until the water integrates into the cloth. What the cloth was holding in the little tiny holes was gas, and that's replaced by the water as you move back and forth. Similarly, as you move here, you're absorbing the pose, and what's releasing is what the body was previously doing, which was relevant then, but is not relevant now. Back to the floor, both hands, raise up your arms behind you like you're skiing. You can really rest your ribs if you want. And then arms forwards and up, Utkata. Again, any movement that keeps things flowing. You know, like sometimes you've got to be quite dynamic to get things flowing. Like if you've got lumpy porridge, you might have to stir it quite vigorously with a spoon to get the lumps out. Right? Inhale, come on up. Big circle, hands to heart. Breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft. Hands on hips. This take Trikonasana on the diagonal, meaning take your right foot forwards towards the front of your mat near me, and your left foot backwards. So it makes the whole thing spread across the width of your mat. So your right foot should be closest to me, and your left foot should be furthest from me. So just double check, right foot closest to me, left foot furthest. And that right foot should be very close to the front of your mat, and you form a little train track, just big enough for a tiny little train, not big enough for you to get on. So there's this little train track with the inner foot and the mat. Raise your arms when you're ready. Breathe through your nose. Relax your toes. Here we go. Inhale, exhale, couldn't resist. Just feel how it changes as you move. Breathe through your nose naturally. Don't hold your breath. Enjoy the instability. Enjoy the instability. Instability is our greatest teacher. And luckily, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it about. Our bodies are unstable, our personalities are unstable, everyone else's bodies and personalities are unstable, weather is unstable, on and on. Why is instability so great? This pose is unstable because it forces us to become a surfer. Well, it doesn't make us, but if we want to be happy. Inhale, come on up, nice and calm. Swap, one back, one forwards. This deliberately unstable version of Trikonasana. Again, look for that parallel alignment with the front of the mat. Make sure your back toes don't turn out. They don't have to turn in on this diagonal version, but they shouldn't be turning out. Raise your arms when you're ready. Breathe through your nose. Inhale, exhale. And I love just to feel how it's opening up moment to moment to moment to moment. Good.
My injury.
Oh, you're doing very well. You're doing very well.
It's not stabbing me like it was, but
good. No, it takes time. Yeah, it will. Exactly. There you go. You've told the universe. Take deep breaths. Enjoy your life as you want. And the best way to do that is to learn to surf. Otherwise, you're just constantly being bashed around by the waves. And we all know what that's like. We've all tried that, haven't we? And then you can sort of rail against the ocean, shout against the oncoming waves, and rage a raging fist against the very nature of life. Or you become a surfer. That's a skill. There's a skill in lightness. There's a skill in dexterity. Therefore, it's a skill in openness. And as you move into the pose, as you investigate the pose, as you surf the pose, let yourself release whatever comes up to release. Inhale as calmly as you can. Come up all the way. Well done. Level up your feet, hands on your hips. Breathe through your nose. Just make sure your feet are completely level. And raise your arms from your hip joints. That's the top of the outer thighs. So when you're ready, raise your arms up, your hip joints. Takes a bit of honesty. You know, many of us are used to cutting corners. You know, we're even educated to do that, cut corners. But in yoga, it says, hang on, catch yourself. If you're trying to cut corners, make sure you actually spend time tuning in on lifting from the top of the outer thighs, the hip joints. We're going to turn the back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body's turning around. And as you turn around, walk your front foot further across the width of the mat away from this side of the room. So you go wider across the width of the mat. Go wider across the width of the mat. The tummy is toned from pubis to chest. It's sometimes good, I should have mentioned it, but I'll mention it now, to lift the back heel and turn that out and bring it down again, just to square up even more. Make sure that the roots of your neck aren't tight. You don't have to do that, as many yoga teachers tell us, by dropping the shoulders, keeping the arms away from the ears. You don't have to do that. You can keep your neck soft while still fully drawing in the side ribs and lifting. And you do that by adjusting two aspects that orbit around the word position. Head position in space-time, so just the way it's positioned, and also position as in the attitude we take towards the moment. So we might call that our darshana. Inhale, exhale, bend your front knee, stretching through the inner groin of the back leg. The inner groin of the back leg. So you can feel the psoas major from the inner groin of the back leg. And not only does it, you can feel it stretched across the lateral pubis, but also it's not just stretched, it's also, we want it to twist a little so we can turn forward. So it's twisted, stretched, and then in its upper aspect, the psoas is attached to the sides of the lower spine. So it's lifting up there. So it's a beautiful muscle investigation from the inner groin, twisting, lifting, turning, twisting, lifting, turning. Breathing through the nose, if you can. Inhaling with the pelvic floor in your awareness, bringing your leg up, turning back to the front, big circle with your arms, hands to your hips, level up your feet, take deep breaths. So take a few really deep breaths. Hopefully your heart rate has gone up, mine has. So that's circulating blood, it's circulating oxygen in the blood as well. Raise the arms, turn the palms, raise your arms without impinging on the roots of the neck. So again, that's head position in space-time and head position in attitude, the position we're taking on the moment. For example, if you take the position of gratitude, and that's a good attitude, then that attitude of gratitude will keep the neck from tensing up. We're going to turn the back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body's turning the other way. So as you turn, walk your front foot further across the width of the mat, away from me, so you go wider. Lift the back heel up and turn it out, and then bring it down, helping you to square up. Tone your tummy from pubis to chest, and just feel a buoyancy on the pelvic floor. Tune in on the inner groin of the back leg in anticipation of us coming into Virabhadrasana number 1. Inhale, raise up. Exhale, bend your knee. Natural deep breaths, lots of repetition. Working round that inner groin. You can use whatever helps. For me, sometimes I do things like lift my back heel or even my front heel, just to kind of give more space to that turn. And let's remind ourselves the muscle that we're really focusing on here, the psoas, attaches to the top of our inner thigh on the back leg. That's what we're focused on, the top of the inner thigh, the back leg. And you can feel it stretched across the pubic bone. It's quite a dynamic stretch there. And then it attaches to the sides of the lower spine. It goes underneath the belly muscles. It attaches to the sides of the lower spine. So we want to twist it, we want to turn it, we want to lift it, we want to release it. It takes a lot of repetition, a lot of adjustment. Twisting, lifting, turning the psoas major. The tummy is toned the whole time, lightly, where possible. Inhale, come up with the pelvic floor in your awareness, turn back to the front, take a big, wide circle, hands onto the hips and breathe deep. So really enjoy the deep breath and any spontaneous movement, we're giving to that is exactly what we're giving to. We're going to go diagonal again, if you don't mind, by bringing the right foot forwards towards me and the left foot back away from me. Again, your right foot makes a parallel line with another parallel line, which is the front of your mat. Just enough for a very small train track, not even big enough to put a train that a baby could get in, but a little tiny train track with your foot. So it should be engineered well. Once you've got that diagonal alignment, it automatically brings more space between the front hip points. So when you bend your knee and begin to move backwards and forwards, you begin to feel you can tease the tissues out. There's more space for them in two different directions. So back and forwards, two different directions, teasing the tissues of the legs out, moving repeatedly. If ready, when ready, down comes the elbow, bottom ribs come forwards, breathing through the nose. Jaw is soft. The yogins are all tuning and retuning. That's us. So I'm doing things like adjusting my toes. It's not a memory, it's not a thought, it's a direct experience of tuning in to this moment, radio now. You can stretch up, you can stretch over. You can even look up. Sometimes it's easier looking up in this diagonal position because there's naturally more space. Adjust and readjust moment to moment. I'm still doing micro adjustments of my toes. I'm not saying you should, but just to give you an idea. Okay, arm down, palm down, push into the leg. Use the inhale to come up. Well done. And then swap, one back, one forwards. Deep breaths. Honesty is a huge part of successful yoga. The instep of the foot parallel. Back toes, remember, don't turn out, but they don't have to turn in the diagonal positioning. And when you're ready, let's start tracking round in two directions. So as a psycho-physical, respiratory release. So it's again and again and again and again. Eventually, the elbow can come down. Perhaps you can feel or sense that spaciousness across the pelvis. And perhaps you can increase that spaciousness by agreeing to it, which you do with your breath, by agreeing to it. So in other words, you feel the invitation to release between the front hips, and then you accept that invitation by relaxing, letting go of what is resistant to that. Again, there's the option to stretch up and over, but stay attentive to the inguinal ligament between the front hip points as a psychophysical point of release between the front hip points. Keep breathing deep, breathing honest, breathing natural. Okay, nice and easy. Arm down, push into the leg, come on up. Well done. Walk your feet towards each other. Well done. Kick out a little bit, shake out a little bit. We are going to come into a forward fold. So if you know that blocks are going to be useful for you to bring your hands onto, then get yourself some blocks and put them there. If you're not sure, just put blocks there anyway. The motto is it's always easier to get rid of equipment in a pose if you don't need it than it is to get equipment if you do need it. So you can use purple blocks, cork blocks, any kind of support you like. We're going to turn the toes in. The blocks can be placed in anticipation of our hands coming to them in a moment. And we're going to spread the toes out, especially across the balls of the feet. We're going to do our very, very best to spread out across the balls of the feet. Now we know one of our sort of mnemonics, it's not a mnemonic, maybe it is, in Vajrasati Yoga is calmness, conditions, connection. It's a way of remembering how you get access to the body. So if you want to spread out the toes, if you want to spread the balls of the feet, which I recommend, calmness, conditions, connection. So being calmer, more meditative, extending out. Lift up from your inner groins on the inhalation. Exhale, hinge from the hip joints, fold over the top of the front thighs, let the thighs rise and bring your hands to wherever, the blocks or the floor or whatever you're using. The important thing in Prasvrita Padottanasana Ekam, which is this
position where the chest is parallel to the floor, is that you've got enough support to minimize or even avoid altogether any rounding up of the back towards the ceiling. We're minimizing that. And what we start wanting to happen as time goes by and as we make adjustments is that the lower back, instead of rounding up, starts to dip down, which of course is its natural lordosis. So as you adjust and readjust your feet and breathe deeply, top of the outer thighs deep, top of the inner thighs lifted, back thighs deep, front thighs lifted. Jaw relaxed, eyes relaxed, brain relaxed, tongue relaxed. Adjusting, readjusting. The more we feel our way in, the more whatever the mind had taken hold of. And it's not that in yoga we think that there are right things to hold and wrong things to hold. We just have the view that emptying out keeps us available, stops us getting heavy or sort of weighted down. We keep emptying out so we can stay light. Someone who's light is someone who can move with the changes of reality that are always happening. Regarding instructions, yes, balancing between inner and outer foot is an endless instruction, an ananta. Spreading out the little toe side of the foot whilst keeping every other part of the foot on the floor. That's an endless instruction, isn't it? You can begin it, but is there an end? It's just eternal refinement, which is lovely. Bringing the weight through the middle part of each heel bone. That's an endless instruction. And we haven't even got beyond the feet yet. We could talk about the calf muscles that extend down to the heels. You can feel them, right? Calf muscles extending down through the longest tendon in the body through to the heel bones. Do those muscle tendons from the calf muscles to the heels feel stable? Do they feel balanced? Do they feel like they're level? Or do they feel like they're pushed out or bowed out to one side or the other? Don't hold the breath, let it go. Could you imagine those long tendons lengthening still to feel the heels press down? Again, we experience the ananta. There is no end. There's no, you can do all the instructions in the yoga book, but that's not all the instructions. And even one instruction may take, an infinite amount of time to refine completely. Complete refinement is integration. Integration is contentment. At that point, the mind isn't reaching for anything. If the body naturally, if the lower back starts to dip, as I mentioned, and it starts to feel a bit achy, you can lower yourself to keep the lower back from tightening up if that's required. So you can lower the blocks, you can lower the body. That's only if that's required to keep the back soft. So that would take us into Prasrita Padottanasana Dvi, or number 2. Okay. Back to fingertips. Walk your feet in a bit closer. Come as high as you can on your supports. Press down into the heels. Calmly lead with the chest. And then bring yourself down to the floor with a block underneath your head. and that's as simple as that. It's very nice.
We just lay on our backs with a block under our head. Obviously, a folded blanket or a folded towel would also work in place of a block. Hands resting on the ribs, breathing through the nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Observe spontaneous release and trust it totally, totally. We are disempowered by the amount of stuff we carry around. It makes us awkward, it makes us heavy, it makes it harder for us to do any U-turns or sudden, or maneuvers with life. But when we empty out, when we allow emptiness at every stage, and of course there are resistances to emptying out. We believe that we must hold certain views and opinions because they make us who we are. And if we don't hold those views and opinions, maybe we'll be the others with the opposite view and opinion that we've positioned as the baddies. So, or it may be that we hold on to things because we think, well, I've got to hold on to that problem. That's part of who I am. I can't let, or perhaps it's a difficulty with other people. Can't let them get away. If I just let it go, then they get away with it. I've got to hold on to this pet peeve or this gripe or this groan. But the truth remains that your ultimate faculty is revealed as you let go. You become light, you become open, you become flexible. You don't divide the world into us and them as much, good and bad, you and me, which of course is the driver of all the problems in the world, the division between us and them. For more, listen to Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. Lift up your feet when you're ready. Plunge your arms through the inside of your legs and hold your big toes, or as anatomy books often call them, the great toes. If you can, try your best to make a loop rather than a hook. And for me, that takes a while. In other words, spend time looping round. Obviously, adjust in any way you need to. That's what openness facilitates. If for some reason it's easier to hold the little toe side of the feet, that's fine as well, for example. Or even not holding the legs all together. We're going to raise the feet up so the soles of the feet face the ceiling and just take some deep breaths. Have a little roll around. Don't hold on to the breath. And let the invitations of the pose be accepted because we're learning to trust emptiness, shunyata. At some point, I'll gather a little book together which gives examples of this great power. Maybe that will be book number 5 of my currently unpublished many, although one just signed a contract for yesterday. Thank you. Wow. I mean, let's not get too excited. It may. Wow. Yes, it's quite. I did.
Congrats,
yes.
Jim.
And I sent them to my mother-in-law to read through. No. But I think that you might be. That's what I need. I'll find one later. Just roll around. enjoy. Enjoy. That's important because enjoyment means surrender, doesn't it? Surrender to the way things are. You've never lost your lightness, even at times when you feel you have. When you feel like, this stuff has accumulated, this story about who you are and where you come from and what happened to you. And, sometimes it can feel like that. But actually, your original lightness has never been changed. It's always there. It's just that we get distracted from it by the things that we think we're supposed to hold on to. But what better gift can we give the world than our original lightness? And it reminds others of their original lightness. When you're light, others can be light. Sanskrit word lagu. Okay, if you're ready to release, I could play with that a while. I'm sure you could too. Feet come down, deep breath comes in and out. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft. Just observe the naturalness of the release, the naturalness. Something we're really interested in yoga. Just raise up either leg, doesn't matter. Raise a leg up and dorsally and plantar flex your foot. Circle and half circles, anything. Scrunch the toes, move the whole leg, bend and extend. Hopefully that wasn't someone's artificial limb falling off. And, back and forth. Any movement, but not too vigorous if you've got an artificial limb that might fall off. And then we're going to turn the heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other one, lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor, and reach through. So this is a great stretch for muscles like the piriformis, and of course piriformitis is fairly common, inflammation of the piriformis. It's a muscle that extends from the sacrum to the top of the thigh bone. And it gets very, very tense. So rolling backwards, rolling forwards, see if you can find sensations of invitational release. Sensations of invitational release. If the mind gets caught on a thought, then move again until something richer just knocks out that habituated pattern. Okay, nice and easy. Release if you're ready. Place the feet down. Breathe through your nose. Deep breaths, deep breaths. 2, 3, 4 or more really deep breaths. So it's this surrender. I've compared it, haven't I, to a closed fist becoming an open palm. Our original nature is the open palm. It's revealed when there's no clinging. Tada drashtu svarupe avastanam. Then tada drashtu, the seer, svarupe, the true form, avastanam, they rest in. Then the seer rests in their true form. Let's raise up the other leg when we're ready. Similarly, let's play with dorsal plantar flexion, circling, half circling, scrunching, unscrunching. Any movements that invite flow, psycho-respiratory, natural, investigative, breath-centered. When you feel limber enough to turn the heel in and toes out, you then cross that leg over the other one and lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor. You can, of course, use a belt as well around your far shin or back thigh if it's tricky to reach. And then we're going to roll about, looking for sensations that leave you wordless, at least for a second, Sensations that leave you wordless. And if words come back in, you need to find another rich sensation. Okay, calmly release if you're ready. Then roll over onto your side.
facing towards the front of the room where I am here. You've got options using blocks. You can have your arm fully extended on a block and a blanket between your arm and head. You can have your arm forwards and a couple of blocks plus a blanket for your head, or you can simply support your head with your hand, extending the bottom ribs, breathing through the nose. We're going to pick the top leg up and simply place it on the floor behind us. And then we're going to meditate on letting go, so undoing. It's very common, in fact, I've mentioned this many times, so common that a friend and a person with a lot of integrity and a studio owner, a yoga studio owner in London, once said to me, yoga's all about action, all about doing, isn't it? And I thought about the yoga tradition and I thought, and then I said, because I didn't have any filter on at the time, I just said, nope. Yeah, so it's a major part of yoga is about undoing what is already subconsciously being done based on assumptions, based on attachments, based on views that we cling to. And we worry that if we don't cling to views, we'll become immoral, we'll become, that we might drift into things that we've been taught that are unwholesome. But the truth is, when you move back and forth in this pose, so let's do that now, move back and forth, massaging, inviting the release of any held tension in the breath and the inner thigh muscles, the adductors. When you release, the mind becomes open. That means it's inclusive. An inclusive mind sees everything the way it is because it's not averse to anything. It's not going, I don't want to see that. It will see everything the way it is. And that always means with compassion. So it will bring wisdom and compassion. That's how the empty mind functions. Wisdom and compassion. Otherwise, we just end up in the corner, defending our corner, like a cornered boxer, trying to fight off other views and opinions that might infiltrate. That's a difficult way to live. So instead, loosen, breathe, loosen, breathe. Closed fist becoming an open palm. Loosen, breathe. It's all in the breath. It's all in the breath. We could spend, I think, a good long time loosening that inner thigh like that. We're going to do the same on the other. We're going to bring our knees up. We're going to come up in a kind of ballet rambert kind of way. And then we're going to come to the other side of the body. And similarly, we're going to either support the head with the hand or one of the other options that I mentioned, the extended arm with the blocks on or whatever. The arm can be forwards. Sometimes that's useful. Breathing easy. And then we're going straight into picking up the leg and placing it behind us. I find it useful to close my eyes because most of us are easily distracted. We've been conditioned to be distracted. So it's like, everyone's got some ADHD in our society to some extent, obviously some more than others, but we're conditioned to be distracted. You only have to walk along the street and every single shop is to say, come in here, buy this, and posters and so on. And then we all advertise as well various attitudes and the way we walk and what we wear. So the whole world is pulling our attention in various directions. And then we're listening out for any potential danger, like a seagull, maybe going to swipe our tofu sausage sandwich, as once happened to me. A sad story. So closing your eyes, drawing your senses in, really learning to listen as you move. Moving back and forwards, loosening off in a way that the breath feels, loosening your inner thigh muscle, the adductor brevis longus magnus, in a way that the breath feels. And then the closed fist becomes the open palm. And that's our true nature. I think most people are a bit afraid that maybe their true nature is some sort of, uncontrolled, wild thing. But our true nature is love. You don't know that until you commit to letting go, until you commit to openness. And love and compassion are wisdom. Okay. So it's really one you can stay with once you understand that this is undoing the tightness that's connected to the breath in the inner thighs, is undoing that tension of being the boxer defending the corner. Okay, well done. We're coming up, bringing those knees up, coming up real calm from the side, and we're going to come into Upavishta Konasana. So Upavishta means to sit. Kona is Sanskrit for corner. We're going to take our legs quite generously apart. We can sit on a block if we feel slumped at all. Sitting on a block is the thing to do with the corner facing forwards directly in front of the pubis. The legs should be equidistant from the midline, the same angle. If you were to have a protractor with you and you were to measure the angle, it would be the same. Yeah, exactly. We want this. Well, actually, not 90 degrees, not 90 degrees from there. That would be too far. Although if you can do the box splits, that is 90 degrees from the imagined midline. So more like 45 degrees, I think, from this midline. But as far out as you are comfortable to some extent. Now, drawing the buttock flesh out and back, the corner facing forward so your thighs are free. Take your hands cupped, place them on the floor behind you, fingers facing back behind you, and roll your shoulders and lift your chest. And as you lift your chest, don't just lift the chest, but lift the tummy. So you tone the tummy gently. And in this way, we're lifting the muscles of the lower back, creating height. Don't hold the breath, let that go. See if you can let your thighs drop. It's almost an oxymoron, can you let your thighs drop? That's almost an oxymoron because it's you, the inherent tension of trying to be somebody, that's keeping you up. So letting the thighs drop is like dropping a stone from a bridge. It's all in the book, lovely illustrations as well. Like dropping a stone from a bridge, due to be published by the spring next year at the latest. My advertising. So a stone drops. How? You just let it go. You can't drop it a bit though. You can't try, check it out, see how it feels. Dropping the top of the thighs is like that. There's no trying to drop the thighs. Like, I'm trying. You want to let go, drop a stone off a little bridge into water to see it splash. There's no half measure. It just drops. Or it doesn't. As Yoda from Star Wars once said, do or do not. There is no try. I won't do my impression, although it is quite good. Lift and turn towards your right foot. Breathe through your nose if you can. Don't forget your left leg. There it is. Feel it. Feel it. Remember, calmness conditions connection. So you feel your left leg through calmness. If you weren't sure what town you're in, the seagulls are just reminding us. It's Brighton.
Lift and turn. Again, be mindful of your back leg. See if you can keep, I know some of you, quite a few of you actually, about 5 of you have got what I call adorable teddy bear legs, which are the legs that do what yours do, Tegan. It's adorable turning out, like teddy bears. You know, yours do it too, Norma. It's adorable. Like that. Yours do it too, Gay. Like that. And you can see how adorable it is because they're like little teddy bears legs. But it's too adorable for me. So, yeah. What's that? No, I never said that. Fluffy, exactly. We're going to bring the leg. Yeah, it's fluffy, not hairy. This will be on a t-shirt. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then my thigh, my camel on my thigh.
Okay. We do that first. Toes upright first. Just don't worry about your thighs for now. And then in time, that's the next thing. So first thing, toes up, and then next thing, thighs will drop in time, but it will be more meditative because you're able to drop your thighs because there's less resistance. But we want resistance because resistance is the stuff that we're holding on to, and we transform that into absorption, like Rumpelstiltskin transforming straw into gold. That metaphor is not in the book. Should be. Breathe through your nose, jaw soft. Okay, super duper. Return to center. And I'm hoping for you, and I'm willing to help if you need it, that you'll be able to bring your legs back together. And cross your legs. So there's a gap between the legs and pelvis. You can sit on the block if you want. The block should be regular way round, doesn't need to be skew-if now. The only pose where you put the block skew-if, well, there's 2 actually. Janu, Shirashasana, and Upavishta Konasana. That's just a note because I know we've got some teacher trainees and graduates in the class as well. Gap between the legs and pelvis, buttock flesh drawn out and back, palms face up, breathe through your nose. So this receptivity. This is a mudra. Mudra comes from a root mud, which means joy. And a mudra is any kind of container, to sort of, or even to posture. When someone, people posture, the posturing, it normally communicates an attitude of some kind. To posture. So similar with mudras, they're kind of posturings. You can do them just with the hands, the whole body also, or just a mental attitude can be a mudra. This mudra, this hasta mudra, is called jnana mudra. And jna is the Sanskrit equivalent of the gno of gnosis and the kno of knowledge. And it means knowing. In yoga, what we want to know is the way things are on every level, internal, external. Not the way we want them to be, but the way they are. Not the way we believe that they should be, but the way they are. It's a challenge, isn't it? And so this pose is receptive, isn't it? Focused on receptivity. Inhale to lift gently from the groins. Exhale, right hand on the floor behind you. Left hand crosses over both legs. Be mindful not to use that left hand to pick up your right leg. Don't pick it up. It's tempting, isn't it? To kind of we're so conditioned because we've been scolded for not doing it and all sorts of other reasons to reach out, to make, to look busy, like that t-shirt, look busy, Jesus is coming. It's a t-shirt with that on. wear condition like that, look busy, look like you're doing something. Posture. But yoga says, be honest. Yoga says that yoga itself is recognizable as something that is empty of grasping. That's how one of the ways you recognize it. Aparigraha. So all those tendencies to reach out for the next thing, they take time to uncouple from those wild horses of craving and aversion. Release and turn all the way around the other way for the same sort of twist and the same sort of emphasis as well. So, there's a reason why in the Yoga Sutras, aparigraha is mentioned as a way of keeping you inside what yoga really is. Aparigraha, remember, means is the alpha privative, meaning not. Pari means something like very. Graha means grasping. So yoga says, not very grasping. You shouldn't be very grasping. Don't be very grasping. And then you notice the grasping in the body, in the nerves. You notice the tendency to reach out. That tendency, the grass is always greener, or that I should be better. I should be self-developing all the time. I'm not quite right as I am. I need more, whatever. That's all reaching out, isn't it? Yoga teaches something quite different. If it's not reaching out, what is it? Expanding in. Hold on, nice and calm, and nice and easy. We're going to fold the end of our mat that's nearest to the outer walls. And if you're in the row that I'm in, you fold the same part of the mat that I'm folding. And you fold a third. A quarter is too little. A half is too much. A third. Now you're going to need a pata, that is to say a yoga belt. If you haven't got one, let me know. There's a few kicking around. I can bring one to you. Obviously, I can't bring you one at home, any Zoomers. Okay. My pleasure. You're going to sit on your folded third with legs extended out and buttock flesh drawn out and back. You're sitting on the folded third. If it's only a quarter, it won't be enough because it's there for your foot. So make sure, be more generous with that fold. Hatha yoga, anyone? Yes, I'm presuming you're saying, yes, I'd like some hatha yoga, please. All right. Oh, that's true. You've all been cornered. That's true. In a good way this time. So have your belt nearby. Take the leg that's closest to me. We're going to draw the leg back. It can come anywhere along the inner thigh, or even with some people, you can bring the heel back and it comes into the top of its own thigh. There's a sense in which the knee is placed to point back behind us in that way. You then take your pata, your belt, and I quite like to double mine up. Makes it a little bit less unwieldy, but it depends how much length you need on the belt. And then breathing. So this is the beginning of two of the three main practices we find in early Hatha Yoga. That is, early texts like the Amrita Siddhi, the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra, and so on, texts before the Hatha Pratipika. And the first thing these early texts tell us about this
these two practices that take place is you bend one leg back and you take hold, they say, of the big toe of your extended leg. Now, we're using a belt because it gives us more space. But if you're someone with short legs, long arms, flexible hamstrings, then you could, if you want, go for the holding of the big toe, just as I'm doing here. Breathe through your nose calmly. So the two practices are called Mahabandha and Mahamudra. The Mahamudra is simply lifting and making space in the imagined, projected central channel. So it's a space. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that there's a space? Can you imagine that you can feel the space running along the front of the spinal column? Just a space, just an openness from the pelvic floor all the way up along the front of the spine and going through the head. Can you imagine the space? Some texts tell us it's about the thickness of our thumb. And it goes right up to a point about 12 finger widths above the crown of the head. We want to imagine it without being tense. We want to make sure we're breathing still. Making space, concentrating on, physically opening up this central channel is called in Hatha Yoga Mahamudra. In Tantric Buddhist yoga, which is where it probably got its name from, Mahamudra means similar thing in its effect. Mahamudra means the great seal, Mahamudra. And that is holding your mind, as it were, in emptiness, in non-duality. Here, we give a visceral correlate to that, the actual visceral feeling of the central channel that we make space in. And that's pretty much one of the hallmarks of early Hatha Yoga, is that what is practiced earlier as a meditation or a breath practice is here brought into the body physically. So make space. This is not the same as the modern postural yoga pose, Janu Shirshasana. This is the Mahamudra. The Mahabandha adds bandhas. That is, you draw your tummy gently in, and that will bring buoyancy to the pelvic floor and nudge energy at the pelvic floor upwards towards the heart. Then you bring your chin and chest towards each other and nudge the upper, what's called the upper kundalini down. Imagine two energies, one being nudged from the bottom upwards, and one being nudged from the top downwards, both to converge in the heart center. So imagine them converging, mixing, gathering in the heart center, which is the ultimate middle place. When you're using hatha, when you're using force, or like dynamism, you could say, or strong intention to push the energies into that central region and to avoid the otherwise very difficult to avoid karmic behaviors that most of us fall into. We're going to release nice and calm and easy. The Hatha Yoga texts that tell us how to do this pose don't tell us to do it on both legs, but we are going to do it on both legs. So we're going to draw the buttock flesh out and back, and similarly, draw the other leg back. Foot can come anywhere along the inner thigh, or it can come to the top of its own thigh with that sense in which the knee points behind you. And again, you take your pata, your belt. We've talked about the psoas, with that and the adductors in this class. That both of those need to release on the back leg. When the late great yoga teacher, modern postural yoga teacher B.K.S. Iyengar used to talk about this pose, he used to talk about the head of the knee extending away. Right? And so that's the head, the shirsha, and of the knee. That's how he reframed the word Janu Shirsha. Again, we're concentrating on space. Maybe close your eyes if it's helpful. Along that anterior spine, a spaciousness, all the way. See if you can imagine and feel it. And of course, you're going to physically move in ways that facilitate that spaciousness. Either holding a belt, it's okay to hold your big toe if you're a wild traditionalist, but not okay to hold a big toe if you can't keep the space in the central channel, because that's the point of it. That's why we're using belts to help us. And then the Mahabandha, the squeezing from the lower Kundalini or consciousness energy up, and the upper Kundalini consciousness energy down, squeezing them both in towards the heart and using hatha, using dynamism, determinism, being determined rather, to not only keep reminding this energy not to stray into its karmic habit patterns for a few blessed moments, but to stay in the heart. Okay, nice and calm, coming out of the Maha Mudra. Stretch your legs out, give them whatever they need, a little rub down. We're going to sit on a cork block or the short end of a regular block. If you can sit in Siddhasana comfortably, that will be great. Mantra Uchara. So mantra Uchara is two words, mantra plus Uchara. Mantra, probably know what mantra means. It's the instrumental case of the root man, mind, meaning by means of the mind, and it usually refers to chanting out loud or internally. And Uchara means to move up. So we're going to move a mantra up through the central channel as dynamically and as viscerally as we possibly can. We're going to really try and feel it actually moving with the sound that we make. We're going to use every resource we can to facilitate that. We're going to do 3 rounds. It's going to be Om, just pushing up through the central channel. So take a deep breath down to the pelvic floor. Om. Right out of the crown of the head, and then the next one when you're ready with a deep breath in. Really push it through the sinuses at the end. Last one, extra deep breath. You take an extra deep breath in and out like a sigh. And a few of those deep breaths come and go. Let the bum relax so you're really settled. Really settled. We're going to come down to lay on our backs just for a couple of minutes, but there'll be a good couple of minutes, enjoyable couple of minutes. So make sure you're warm, make sure you're comfortable, make sure your hands are not too close to the body, and that your palms face up. As mentioned, the shoulder blades are scooted under the body. The chest should be buoyant and spacious. The head shouldn't tip back, but is supported where necessary so that our attention can remain with the heart center. Feel the left leg, the foot, the back of the knee, through the thigh and the buttock. Feel the left leg relax completely, including the buttock area. Let the right leg release completely, including the foot, the back of the knee, the thigh, and the buttock. Feel a total surrender of the whole of the pelvis. Feel the left waist, the left back ribs, and the left shoulder blade release completely. Feel the right waist, the right back ribs, and the right shoulder blade release completely. Feel the left side of the chest, from fatty tissue through to muscular tissue, through to the ribs and lungs. Feel the left side of the chest release through to the left shoulder, elbow, wrist and hand. Feel the right chest, fatty tissue through to muscular tissue, through to ribs, lungs. The arm, the elbow, the wrist and the hand. Feel both sides of the chest from superficial to deep, both arms, through to elbows and wrists, even to the very tips of the fingers. Feel the full weight of the head. Feel the left side of the back of the skull release and the left side of the neck. Feel the right side of the back of the skull and the right side of the neck completely release. Feel as you move your toes, how energy releases from the back of the pelvis down through your legs and starts to feel like it begins to animate with consciousness the legs and the pelvis. Similarly, as you move your fingers, feel how energy releases from the brachial plexus in the upper back, through the chest, through the tummy, through the whole body, energy or prana. And as that prana, which is a form of consciousness itself, expands through the body, it will naturally motivate movements, selfless movements. And when ready, those stretches that are motivated by the spreading out of prana, those stretches will enable us to feel ready to bend our legs. And that's just what we'll do. We'll bend our legs and place the soles of the feet onto the floor. Having done so, we can scoot the buttocks under. Having done that, we can take a deep breath in and a deep breath out like a sigh. Then we're going to roll over onto our side, facing away from the shrine side of the room and laying as comfortably as we can on our side. Without haste, we'll roll again and lay as comfortably as we can on our other side. Coming up when you're ready and facing towards the shrine side of the room, with your hands in a prayer position. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thanks so much everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. Don't forget, there are no classes on over the bank holiday Easter weekend, sadly. Anyway, it's my son's 30th birthday on Good Friday. Happy birthday to Elijah on that day. Thanks so much, Zoom. It's really great to see you. Well, a whole lot of love coming your way right now. Love you guys. Stay out of trouble.